Once a month, when I get paid, I always sit down and do 6 things that help me stay organized financially. And I find that when I take the time to do these things, I never run into any bad financial surprises, and I'm always organized financially. And so in this video, I'm going to share those 6 things that I do that are part of my monthly paycheck routine. And hopefully they can help you stay organized and avoid any bad financial surprises. Now, the first thing I do when I get paid is take out taxes. So in this video, I'm going to be extremely transparent about my own financial situation because I think the more transparent I am, the more relatable and more helpful it is to you. Now, this is my full-time job. So my income is very sporadic. It varies from month to month. I like to live dangerously, ladies and gentlemen. However, if I averaged out how much I've made this past year, it would be $3,200 a month. Now, unlike being an employee for a company, because I am self-employed, the money I receive, this $3,200, has not yet been taxed. So the first thing I do the second that money hits my bank account is I take out 25% for taxes, which is $800, and I put it in a savings account and I pay the government a certain amount quarterly. And I think it's important before you do anything with your money to make sure you're setting aside enough money for taxes. If you're self-employed like me, that means setting a percentage aside and paying quarterly. Or if you're employed, make sure your employer is taking out enough. Because you never want to reach tax season realizing that you owe the government thousands of dollars that you don't have. So whether you're self-employed or an employee of a company, always make sure that you're taking out enough for taxes. Now, the second thing I do once I get paid is contribute $100 to my Roth IRA. Now, after I set aside money for taxes, my second priority is to contribute $100 to my Roth IRA. And if you don't know what a Roth IRA is, a Roth IRA is a tax-advantaged retirement account that we have here in the US. And I go in more detail about what a Roth IRA is in this video right here. But if you are an American and you do not have one of these accounts, consider opening one because I think that everyone should have a Roth IRA. But regardless of how much I make on a given month, I always contribute at least $100 to my Roth IRA that I invest in the market. And if I have a month that is really good or I come into some extra money, I put in a little extra to my Roth. And I think regardless of whatever you're doing in life, it's important to consistently set aside money for your retirement because if you're lucky enough to reach old age, that money is going to serve you a lot more than it's serving you right now. So if you're an employee of a company, that means contributing to your employer 401k match and a Roth IRA. Or if you're self-employed, contributing to a Roth IRA. I don't plan to live the way I'm living right now, be making the same thing that I'm making right now for the rest of my life. I'm just in this experimental phase. However, I don't see that as an excuse to not contribute to my retirement account. So once I contribute to my retirement account, the third thing I do is pay off my credit card balance. Now, most people do not have the self-control to have a credit card. And if you don't have the self-control, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't get a credit card. But I personally do have the self-control to pay off a credit card balance each month. And so throughout the month, what I do is I put basically every single expense I have on my credit card, like gas, groceries, eating out, some monthly bills, and discretionary spending. And the reason I do this is because it consolidates all these small expenses into one single bill, my monthly credit card statement. Instead of having a bunch of small payments to keep track of, I just run up my credit card balance and have this one single bill that I need to pay at the end of each month. And usually it is around $1,000. So the third thing I do once I get paid is I completely pay off my credit card balance and bring it to zero. And I find doing it this way keeps it very organized and very easy because there's not that much to keep track of. Instead of having 15 small bills to pay off each month, I just have one single large bill that I have to pay off. And as long as I pay off this bill in full every single month, I never have to pay any interest. I view it as a zero interest loan. I view a credit card as a tool to make bill paying much easier. Now, the fourth thing that I do whenever I get paid is pay my non-credit card expenses. Now, I can't put everything on my credit card because certain expenses like rent would charge me a 6% fee. However, when it goes directly through my bank, there is no fee. And it's important to spot these charges because paying this extra 6% is completely unnecessary. But so for all these expenses that I can't put on my credit card, I have them set up through direct deposit and they're taken out of my account at the end of each month. And these are things like rent, utilities, health insurance, and my dental insurance. And since it's all done through direct deposit, I don't really need to do anything. The only thing I need to do is just make sure that all these charges went through, because every now and then I get an email from Kaiser Permanente, the evil corporation of Kaiser Permanente, saying they're about to dump my ass because the direct deposit didn't go through. But those are all the bills that I pay each month. And I do all this in one sitting the second my money hits my bank account. And as we've seen, after I pay all my bills, I have $241 left over. Now, as I've mentioned, the amount I make each month varies from month to month, so how much I have left over at the end of each month could be drastically different. So in my own situation, I never want to overspend. So the fifth thing I do whenever I get paid is keep my checking account at $150 and move the rest to savings. Now, my income is very sporadic. My worst month this year was about $2,000, and my best month was about $5,000, so the spread can be over $3,000. And in my own situation, if I want to continue doing what I'm doing, I have to be extremely cautious with how I manage and spend my money. I never spend more when I make more, but I just save that extra money for a worse month. For example, if my expenses are $2,500 a month and I make $5,000 one month, I save half of it to cover for a bad month. So after all my bills are paid, as I've mentioned, I have $241 left over. And what I normally do is I take that money minus $150, which is $91, and I move it to my savings account. And as I've said, this can vary drastically. Some months I can save $2,000. Other months I can just save $100. But I always keep my checking account as low as possible, up to $150, because I never want to confuse spending money with saving money. So in order to maximize my savings, I always just move everything over to my savings account, and I can use that money for a worse month. Now, the final thing that I do whenever I get paid is notice my current financial trajectory. So I like to think that there are three different trajectories or phases that people go through with their money. The first is growth, where your account is increasing, you're saving money. The second is maintaining, where your account is stagnant, it's not increasing or decreasing, but you're living exactly at your means. The third is decline, where your account is decreasing. And before I close my laptop and finish my payday routine, I always zoom out and look at the big picture of my account and see what trajectory I'm on, which for me is maintaining. This past year, I've been taking risks and learning new things, so I've just been trying to maintain what I have. And I'm perfectly fine with doing this because this is the trajectory I'm on. I didn't sign up for certainty, but it's always important before you finish to zoom out and see which trajectory you're on in these three different trajectories. And there's no right or wrong trajectory. It's just dependent on what your goals are and what phase of life you're in. Don't let these stiff people that hate to take risks tell you that you're living your life wrong. But the important thing is, if you are on the third trajectory, to make sure that you never go below zero. because then you'll have to take on debt, and I don't think that debt is ever worth it. But those are the 6 things that I do whenever I get paid. I'm not saying that those are the 6 things that you should do, because we're all in different situations. But maybe you can implement 1 or 2 of these things in your life to be more financially organized. With that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. It's starting to get chilly here in Colorado. Oof, the heat is on. Nos vemos, chicos.